This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Village Law SEQFC preview show. My name is Darren. I am your host for this evening, and we're going to talk about not so much about the football that happened on the weekend, because it wasn't a great deal, but we'll talk about all these games that are scheduled to happen this weekend or get rained out and occur again in a month's time and then 6 weeks' time and all that sort of stuff. That's the funny thing. You look at the NPL schedule and it says this week is round 17. Some clubs have only played 12. Let's have a chat about it. Joining us tonight, we've got Rick Coghlan, who was formerly the coach of Logan Lightning. He's made a little step up across the river. He's now the head man at Peninsula Power. G'day, Rick.
Hey, Darren. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, mate. Before I introduce anyone else, let's talk about this. How did this switch occur?
I guess I won't go too much into the back end stuff, but long story short, there was a conversation in regards to was I interested in the role. It was a really hard decision to make. I think obviously leaving mid-season was never going to be easy. It probably wasn't ideal for Logan, but again, a really hard decision. But ultimately, it was one that I wanted to make. Had a few discussions with Ben Ryan and John Ald over at Power, and yeah, it just seemed like the right move I wanted to make at the right time. So I took the opportunity.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Power on, I know that Philpa has left for personal reasons. They were on a bit of a slide just before you joined. Is that correct? And you seem to have steadied the ship again.
Look, no, I'm not sure. Not sure about that. I think they're sitting. Obviously, they were sitting in third or fourth. That position has remained over the last month that I've been there. Philpa is just going to be transitioning now, so he's my assistant coach, number 2. And then obviously at the end of the year, we'll reassess what the environment looks like moving forward into 2023.
Right. So Philpa's still there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Good stuff. All right. How's that been? Have you developed a good working relationship with him?
Yeah, of course. I didn't know him too well before coming in. We'd met at football as you do. But I'd obviously heard some great things, and we'd always got along whenever we did see each other. It was certainly by his own admission that he wanted to step away at the end of the year. So I don't think there was anything dramatic that happened. Sorry to disappoint people out there. It was definitely something that behind closed doors of the club they had come to that agreement. Then conversations happened, and he was happy to become the number 2 and help with the transition period towards next year, and then I guess, like I said, we'll reassess from there.
And if you've picked up a plum job at one of the best clubs in southeast Queensland, how are you finding the change?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Obviously it's something that I've been working hard to achieve and to get to. Not to take anything away from Logan or any other club, but Peninsula Power for the last few years have certainly been one of the so-called top 4, big 4. I've been working extremely hard individually to make sure I can put myself in the shop window to keep progressing with my coaching career. So yeah, when the opportunity came, it was one that I didn't want to spend too long thinking about. It was one that I wanted to dive in and get stuck into.
And where do you live, Rick?
I live on Gold Coast in Southport.
Holy dooly! How's that getting to training every week?
It's before I took the position, it was something which I thought about, but now I'm into the thick of it. Honestly, I just jump on the motorway. I'm there in an hour and 10 minutes, and I just crack on, make a few phone calls, listen to the podcast, and off I go. Right,
bit of thinking time for you.
That's it, mate. That's it.
Yeah. And tell us about the draw from last week. Were you at the club for it?
Yeah, at the club for it. We trained that night, and then we went upstairs and had some food and watched the draw. Look, I think as good of a draw as we could have wanted, in terms of another NPL team that on paper we may be able to progress. And I'm sure they would say the same thing. I'm sure if you avoid the 2 or 3 giants and some of the A-League teams, you've got a good shot of at least being in the mix to progress. So it was a good draw, a home draw for the club, which I think is always a massive onus. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to hosting them.
And Logan, your old club, finally got over the hump and made the round of 32 after being that close for a few years now. You must be thrilled for them as well.
Absolutely buzzing. You know, I thought it was written in the stars that we'd meet each other in the round of 32. So I'm very glad.
Round of 16 now.
But I'm thrilled for them. You know, obviously I know the guys inside out. I was there for 2.5, 3 years. Lots of friends, lots of great memories. One of my best friends is now the head coach of Logan. So no, obviously I'm fully behind them in anything they do.
Good stuff. All right, now let's talk about the NPL competition. You're taking on Raw Youth this weekend.
Yes, Friday.
Yeah. They haven't lit up the competition as they did last year. Obviously, a massive turnover and a bit of a rebuild for them. But can you see any signs of life from them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're always going to be a dangerous team. They've got some incredible young, hungry talent in there. 2 fantastic coaches in Grosty and Owen. Play on a lovely surface, although it's been reversed. So they'll now come to AJ Kelly Park on Friday. It won't be at Underwood Park. That fixture's been reversed. But no, it's going to be a really interesting tie. You know, you don't want to be taking them lightly for a second.
And what do you make of the competition this year with Lions on top? You think they're the team to beat? They're in their rightful place?
Yeah, I think whenever you're at top at this stage of the season, you're there or thereabouts, the rightful leaders. I think they've got a couple of wins ahead of the pack chasing them. They've certainly earned their spot at the top, and it's up to the rest of us to keep trying to close the gap to get there again now.
Good stuff. All right, now Spencer's Lawson is with us this evening. G'day, Spencer.
Hi, Darren.
Do you have a quick question
How's
there
it
for
going?
me at all?
I've made my sporadic return.
Yes, you have. Welcome back.
No. Obviously, it was
All right, Spencer, if you can hear me, I can't hear you at the moment. So I'm going to move on with things. All right. Now,
I'm
well there.
late. No. Over the peninsula on the cusp of potential
Oh dear. Guys, are you hearing Spencer as well?
No.
No, not hearing him at all.
All right, Spencer, we'll put you on ice for a bit, mate. Let's move down to the NPLW. We've actually got 2 coaches from NPL Women's. We've actually got 2 coaches from this competition tonight. We've got Tony Panetta from East. G'day, Tony.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And Cory Robbins from the Sunshine Coast Wanderers. G'day, Cory.
How are you, mate?
Good. All right, so let's have a chat about this competition. Lions look to be, as per usual, the team to beat, and everyone's fighting for second place. Is that how it feels for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably spot on. Lions is way up ahead, and from second down to the ninth now, it's going to be tough going for the second part of the year. Yeah.
Yes, Tony. Now you've actually got second place at the moment. Great start this season for you guys.
Yeah, we've had a reasonable start. I mean, that a little bit of a hiccup where we played 5 games in 13 days didn't help us, but we dropped some points there, which we probably shouldn't have. But hopefully that won't happen again. And now we've got 2 buys, which just it's crazy. We play so many games in a short period of time. Then we have 2 weeks that we don't play any games at all. So I'm not sure what Football Queensland are doing there, but it is what it is, and we just keep battling on, I suppose.
How do you, as a coach, how do you plan for this sort of thing? Do you just
you can't
roll with what you've got?
You have to, mate. We spent most of our 2 weeks doing recovery sessions and really light sessions. We couldn't do anything. So you just you finish a game and you do a recovery session and come back and you can't do anything because you play a game in 2 days. So it was quite tough for us, but it is what it is, and we got some wins and draws out of it, which was good. So we'll keep going.
Cory, is that sound true for you? Is that your experience?
Yeah, we went through a similar thing. We had 4 games in 10 days. East was actually one of those games. I think we were at the start of their 5-game run or 4-game run, whatever it was. But yeah, it is tough. Like, you can't really get on the training park to work on anything. It is literally just games and recovery sessions. We were able to utilise a few of our under-23s as well, which is fantastic for them to get that experience. But yeah, same sort of thing. We had a couple draws, couple wins, and as long as we were getting some sort of points on the table during that period, we were happy.
With all this disruption, is it hard to get a gauge on the competition this year?
Yeah, I think like from my perspective, it is. Lions, of course, aside, I think you look at a lot of the games and the results of those games. It's been pretty even throughout, so it's really kind of hard to get a judge on sort of who's flying high, who's kind of struggling a bit, because results have been all over the place. And even just watching a lot of the games myself, I'm sure Tony's done the same sort of thing. There's not a lot in it in a lot of these games, so it's really hard to kind of get a judge of where things are going to end up. Or, I personally don't think there's any easy beats, which is good for the competition. But yeah, I think with the disruptions and, you look at the table, you might be sitting in one position, but then two teams behind you have 2 or 3 catch-up games on you. So it's really hard to get a judge of where you're sitting and where they're sitting as well.
Yes, Gold Coast United are one of those clubs, aren't they? So having only played 7 games and they win those catch-up games, and they're right in the mix, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Cory, last season we had the MPL Women's and the FQPL 1 all in the same competition before the split. Now that there are 2 separate competitions, you've mentioned the evenness of the competition this year. Has it been the right decision?
I believe so, yeah. I think, it's last year we kind of went into a few games where, we really expected to win the game easily, and I actually think it was detrimental to the performance that we put out, because girls were going in there taking things too lightly. So we kind of let our own standards slip. Whereas this year, you're looking at all those teams and you don't show up on the day and you're going to be dropping points. So I think it is the right decision. And then obviously with the, I think it's 2 teams come up from the FQPL 1 at the end of this season to add extra numbers in. I think in the long run, it's going to help strengthen it for sure.
Tony, do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the competition this year has been, take Lions out of it. And it's been a very, very tight competition. And like Cory said, if you don't turn up for the game, you're not going to take points home. So you've got to be switched on all the time. Yeah.
Tony, I might throw this question at you. I think that the coaching job that Cory did with the Sunny Coast Wanderers last year was one of the great things to occur in the league last season, getting them in that top half, the MPL Women's. He seems to have gone on with the job, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He's got a very good side, working together quite well, so which is good. So I watched the game against Gold Coast United, and they were quite good in there. So we got to watch him.
What do you think of that, Cory?
Look, all the teams are good, So, I'm just doing what I can with the players that we've got. We were lucky to pick up a couple of quality players coming into the start of this season, which has helped bolster the girls. And I think just our second season in the comp has helped as well. A lot of those young girls that we're starting to bleed in from our 23s is helping too. And hopefully we can stay in the comp for a while and keep going.
And you've gone with all local girls though, haven't you? And you don't have a budget to work with. So you're basically stuck with whatever's in the competition. So all power to you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I think that's the secret though, Darren. Yeah, unless you're a Lions that can attract really, really quality players to their club, whether it be money or whether it be the actual facilities that they have, you need to look at your 23s. You need to look after them, and you need to bring them up. That's what's going to keep you in the competition, being competitive for many years. So, and that's good that Cory's doing that. So we've got that sort of same plan in our system at East that we use and bring up a lot of our under 23s and 16s, which is good. So
you keep that development pathway coming along.
You have to, unless you've got plenty of money, you got it.
100%.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, quick chat about the FQPL 1. Guys, have you been keeping an eye on that competition?
A little bit, yeah.
What are your thoughts on it this year?
I mean, power's flying high at the moment. Brisbane City seem to have followed a similar pattern to last year, where they started off really well and then they've kind of hit a bit of a slump. Mitchelton, I think, is doing phenomenal. They've got an unbelievable striker there at the moment, Keely or Kelly or something like that. But, she scored like 30-something goals in that competition. So they're doing well. And obviously Western Pride are one of the strong teams there too.
I think they're the outperforming team of the competition, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. I'm just going to look that up. Did you say 30 goals?
Yeah,
I think
30 goals. Yeah.
Something already.
There we go. Yes. So Kelly Purifoy, 30 goals already. And
Yep.
I apologise, Kelly, for pronouncing your surname incorrectly.
So it should be at Lions next year.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
But what has been interesting is that Peninsula Power have begun to invest in their team now as well, as you know, Cory, with a couple of players from the Sunny Coast moving down as well.
Yeah, I think I don't hold anything against them at all. It was a good opportunity to work with Alex. One of the girls was from our 23s, so I couldn't offer her full-time game time in our top team. He was able to, so I think it's for her as a player, it's going to benefit her. But they're another club where they've got that financial backing, and I think they'll come into the NPL next year, invest in a few more players, and they'll be a real tough beat as well.
Yeah, it's what you want to see, really. All credit to Lions for investing in their sides, but we want a bit more competition for them, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Good stuff. All right, now we'll have a quick look at the FQPL competitions. Let's have a look. Rochdale Rovers still on top. Mitchelton still at the bottom of the league. Not too many. I think only one match got played on the weekend, so let's move on from there into the FQPL 2. Now that's been a really interesting competition. Spencer, have you been keeping an eye on that?
Yeah, so look, there's a much bigger gap between Surfers and Albany Creek than I thought they would be. I thought they'd be really pushing each other for the top spot. I think top 2 go up anyway. Oh no, top 3 go up this season. So yeah, look, it's a very interesting I think it was a bit of a flex from Surfers to get the 10-1 win over Sanford, especially after. Now, what I've heard is Patrick Theodore is on some very decent coin to go over there, to go join Trevor. But look, it's a bit of a flex from Surfers there. I think it's inevitable that they're obviously going up. But yeah, I think third place is up for grabs, really. It could be Sanford, could be, I think Wynnum's in the mix, Holland Park are the other one. Yeah, or even potentially the real surprise, I think, could be Magic. I know they had a dodgy result on the weekend or the weekend before, but I think they could be a little surprise package, and I think they've been a surprise package for most of the season as well.
Yeah, let's be clear about that flex. That was first against fourth.
Yeah. So to win 10-1, it really shows, and I think Surfers are certainly showing why they are why everyone was talking them up. And I think I remember saying at the start of the year that they're going to be they could potentially be in NPL in the next 2 years. The way that they are winning games in FQPL 2, they're obviously going to invest at the end of this season. They could be in NPL. I'm not sure what their junior setup is like and whether that will hinder them, but they'd want to get on top of that because they could certainly just ride the wave at the moment.
There's absolutely no surprise from anyone down here on the Gold Coast that they're doing what they're doing. They are, yeah, they did the same thing down here in the Gold Coast Premier League the last 2 years, and they're a better team this year. The players that they brought in, they brought in 3 of the best midfielders from other teams, the best goalkeeper in the comp down here. So it's no surprise And having
They
been on
absolutely
the
raided
ends-
Narang, didn't they? They raided Narang.
No, they only took 2 players from Narang.
Okay.
Yeah, they had 2 players from Narang. They had a player from Kingy, player from Palmy. You know, they sort of just picked the eyes out of everywhere to go with a decent squad they had. You know, I've been on the end of a 10-1 drubbing from them. And, you know, there's not much you can do about it when they get into that mood. You know, the 2 boys that they signed last week, that Jaden Sonta and Nick Buxton, again, young local guys from our comp down here. You know, we got 2 more teams that will come in over the next couple of years and dominate that league, without a doubt. I think, you know, for too long, people have said Brisbane, but the Gold Coast has had a very strong league here for a long period of time. Particularly, you know, if you take the NPL clubs out of the Brisbane equation.
Definitely flying the flag. That's Nathan Mulhearn, everyone. He's the,
Sorry.
he's the head coach at Ormeau. While you're on a roll, Nathan, let's talk about the Gold Coast leagues, or the South Coast leagues. Broadbeach are on top. Now, you said at the beginning of the season that you expected them to come top 3, and certainly holding up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, look, I think if you look at the top 3 clubs this year in that league, with Southport going out, Surfers going out, Southport lost a few players, like those 3 teams were stable. So Broadbeach, Robina and Palm Beach. Well, Robina not so much stable, but they brought a whole team over from Nerang basically, and added some good players as well. But yeah, Broadbeach, look, they've just got, you know, good facilities. They can always train because they're on the beach. You know, good coach, Jamie there, make sure they're well set up, they're organised, they buy into what he's doing. So yeah, no real surprises. I suppose the surprise is Palm Beach, who are the team that really pushed Surface the last couple of years. You know, look, they've only lost 3 games, but those teams are so consistent at the top that you can't afford to lose those games without, you know, putting yourself behind the 8 ball. But again, you know, like the boys are talking about the leagues up in FQPL and MPL and that, you know, I think, you know, Robina are a couple of games in hand over Broadbeach. So if they win those couple, they're on top. Palmy, you know, would then be 4 points behind them, and Broady 1 point behind them. So plenty of play for in that league. At the other end, you know, obviously Narangya had Belinda on last week. You know, they've picked up a win where they, you know, people didn't think that was going to happen. But obviously, you know, Belinda's come in and a little bit of resolve from the players, and they got a result the other week against Tally. I don't actually think there'll be any relegation from QPL 3. There's a few scenarios that depend on whether a team goes up, whether Coomera come back down, or a team was to be relegated from QPL 2. So I think what will actually happen is it'll stay with those 10 teams, and then 2 teams will come up from QPL 4. So there's potentially going to be no relegation. They've said they won't take the 3rd team up from QPL 4. Yeah, so potentially a bit of a free hit for Tally Valley and Nerang.
Are you surprised at Burleigh Head's position in 7th or Talabudra's position in 9th?
Look, Tally signed some very good players, but you know, for whatever reasons, you know, they haven't been able to put things together. I think, you know, potentially they'll look back and lament the fact they were unable to sign defenders. You know, they signed some good attacking players, but probably didn't have the players at the back. And I saw them play against Robina. We played down at Tweed a few weeks ago, and they were the game after us because of Robina's ground being out. And, you know, watching them and the boys, 2 boys coaching, Levi Hilton and Simon Wade, you know, they're late 30s and they're needing to play every week, you know, and, you know, they know themselves, like the pace is just too quick for them, but they've got no other option.
Let's have a chat about your league now, the FPPL 4 South Coast. You've taken over at Ormeau. It's a step up into this league, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's a step up into this league. They're only playing midweek.
No. So last year was their first year in this league.
Right.
Yes, yeah. So they've had a year in there. So I suppose
mid-table obscurity is yours at the moment. You happy with that?
Well, not really. It's probably not a true reflection, I don't think, of the side we've got. We didn't play for 5 weeks because of the rain and all that sort of stuff. Couldn't even. We may have played a game in that time, but we couldn't train. Our pitch was out of action up until probably 2 weeks ago. And our return was actually playing 3 games in the 1 week. And in that week, we played Pacific Pines, Wollongbar and Tweed. So they're 3 of the top 4 teams.
Yep.
And some of them were in that same boat as well without being able to train and that sort of thing. But so that was a little bit of a shock to the system to come back and do that. And we didn't do too bad in those games. There was a couple of games where we went, you know what, we just weren't good enough that day. But we knew it wasn't our potential. And then last week, after we'd played those 3 games, we were able to train the next week. We come out and we beat Legends, and then we beat Tweed, who are on top of the table. So we're the only team without Jaden Sonter in our side to beat them this year. So I don't know if you know, when Jaden Sonter transferred to Surface, he actually played a couple of games of QPL 4 waiting for the QPL 2 window to open. So he scored a few goals there too. But so look, we haven't played. There's teams in our league we haven't even played. We've got 3 teams we haven't played. So, and 2 of them are behind us. So the table, you usually say the league table doesn't lie. Well, it's probably telling a few porkies at the moment.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks for that, Nathan. Now, Cory, I'm going to come back to you, mate, and just have a quick chat about what's happening on the Sunshine Coast, because we haven't discussed the league yet this season.
Yep.
I had a look at the men's, and we, in the very beginning of the season, we thought Maroochydore would be the team to beat, and that has certainly proved to be the case, hasn't it?
In the men's side of things?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, 100%. They had a decent team there last year, and then they've got a few players from Bunthouen that have gone over there this year, which has just given them really, really good depth. And, look, they're sitting up the top, and probably deservedly so with the team that they've got.
Haven't lost a game yet either.
Oh.
Noosa in second spot, so they seem to have built back up after coming down a peg or 2 last season.
Yeah, look, they had a few senior boys drop out. I know the coach up there fairly well, Benny Hampson. They've got quite a young squad, but they're extremely talented young players. Having played against them myself already this year and copped a bit of a walloping. Look, I think they'll still easily be in the top 4, and with the young players that they've got coming through, I can't see them dropping out of there anytime soon over the next couple of years either.
We've got Kawana in 3rd, NYU in 4th. NYU had such a great season last year. Are they the surprise in the league at the moment?
Not really. Look, they had a really good team last year. They have lost a few boys. Marco Fitchner's, he went to Caboolture to play FQPL 1, 2, whatever they're in. They did lose a few players, but they've still got, a really good team there. So I'm not really that surprised to see them sitting up in top 4. And Kawana does what Kawana does. They seem to finish top 4 every year, get their way through to the grand final and win it nearly every year. So not surprised either.
So which team are you looking at on the ladder going, hey, blimey?
Look, I think looking at the ladder and kind of knowing where most of the teams are at this year, there's a few teams doing a bit of a rebuild. Beerwell Glasshouse is one, Coolham's another. Caloundra is quite a young squad too, so they're sort of starting to rebuild. So I don't think that there's really too many surprises with where anyone's sitting. I think Woombye potentially are sitting lower than what I would have thought. They've got a decent team there, and I would have thought maybe they'd probably be up in that top 4 spot potentially instead of Nambour.
All right. Speaking of Woombye, in the women's, Woombye are on top.
Yeah, look, again, I know lucky enough to sort of know the coach there, Jordan Nisbet. Yeah, look, he's doing excellent with the girls. He's got some really good players there. There's a few girls that I've been lucky enough to coach in the past, either at Wanderers or at Beerwell Glasshouse as well. And yeah, I think attacking wise, he's easily got the best team in the comp, and he's recruited a really good goalkeeper as well. Abigail Stanton. She was actually the Moreton Bay top team keeper in the MPLW last year. Having a year off from that for her schooling. So she's gone there, and I think that's helped them out defensively.
So if memory serves me correctly, last year it was Maroochydore, BGs and NYU fighting it out for top spot.
Yep.
Maroochydore in second, BGs in fifth, and Nambour Yandina with just 1 point on the board so far. What's going on?
Yeah, look, they seem to really be struggling. I know that they have lost a few players. I've watched them play a couple of times this year. But yeah, they're really struggling to get going on the park this year, which was surprising because over the last couple of years they have been one of those top competitors. They've always been pushing for top spot there and pushing the teams. I think Maroochydore sitting where we would expect, and yeah, Beerwell, again, they've lost some strong players. They've still got some really good players there. They've got a new coach in this year. I think they're still just trying to kind of find their feet and get going again.
Given your role at the Wanderers, how many of these games do you catch in of a week?
Look, I do try and get out nearly every Friday to watch a game. I've seen pretty well all the teams. So far, I haven't watched Gympie, and they seem to be doing really well considering they've been one of the bottom dwellers the last 3 years, and they're sitting third, I think. So they're but yeah, I do try and keep a pretty close eye on what players are starting to come through their junior ranks into their senior teams and stuff like that as well.
Good stuff. All right, Spencer, time to bring you back into the show, mate. Let's talk about everything FQ Metro North and South.
Yes. So we'll go league at a time, just so I don't have to do the full run through of every league. So look, the FQPL 3. Look, I don't think there's any surprise. I think when I was on last time, I don't think the top 2 has changed. I don't think there's any surprises who's the top 2. And like last year, it seems the more exciting stuff seems to be happening at the bottom again. I was actually disappointed I wasn't on last week because the new coach of the Gap seems to be getting some real good results out of them over there. So, and they play Spirit this week, which could be the first time in a while that the Gap haven't actually sat in the relegation zone of FQPL 3 or Brisbane Premier League. So, and Spirit could be going down. So we all know how last year, how I was adamant they were going to go down. This year could be the year, which so it's going to be a very interesting second half of the season for the bottom few. I think it's very clear. Like I think when we had Pine Hills coach, what's his name again?
Leo Sirianni.
Leo Sirianni. You could take the top half of FQPL 4 and replace it with the bottom half in FQPL 3, and you would have one hell of a competition, to be honest. So it's a shame they can't do that. But look, segueing into FQPL 4, what a league that is again this year. The promotion is anyone's from, I think, 5th above, in all honesty. So you've got, I'm just having a look. So North Brisbane, Logan Metro, North Pine, Redcliffe, New Farm. Look, it's probably is now between the top 3, but the final spots are are certainly up for grabs. I don't know if it's been asked, but I'd love to get Rick's thoughts on obviously Sam Roper going over from Penn Power to New Farm, which was a huge difference. Obviously been a regular at Penn Power for the last few years. And now he's playing at New Farm in FQPL 4. But yeah, look, it's a hell of a league. Ipswich City Bulls got a win on the weekend against New Farm of all teams, because obviously there were a few players down from a very hefty suspension round for them where they got 3 red cards. And then,
Actually,
yeah, that's
just on that, Spencer. I'm pretty sure Rick's still with us, aren't you, Rick?
Yep.
Can you speak to that about Sammy?
Honestly, I can't. No idea whatsoever. You know, I come in long after I think Sam had left, so
Right.
I couldn't comment on why or what's happened there or what the situation is.
No worries. All right. Sorry to interrupt you, Spencer.
no, all good. Which I guess, like, yeah, again, that's going to be a very interesting league, and hopefully going at FQPL 5, Springfield will be amongst that next year. So absolutely flying at the moment. I think you had Scotty on last week until he had to sort out the dog. But yeah, that'll be an interesting league, I guess, next year in regards to you're going to have Springfield, hopefully Western Spirit, and Ripley Valley. So there's some very big Western Corridor derbies potentially in FQPL 4 next year. So that'll be very interesting. So yeah, very, very interesting.
And FQPL 6, Park Ridge.
No. We'll keep going with FQPL 5. So
Sorry.
No, FQPL 5. It's a big league. Tarragindi, Brighton Bulldogs. They're basically second spots up for grabs there. I think Springfield have kind of they've solidified themselves in a promotion spot. I think I don't want to curse us, but it'll be a very, very strong finish to the season, I think. Thank God the rain we got rained out on the weekend because a few of the boys were away. Big players were away. So thankfully the game didn't go ahead. We didn't want to kind of make that known, but yeah, thankfully the game didn't go ahead. But yeah, FQPL 6, Park Ridge are absolutely like, I am shocked. I can't put it into words. It's unbelievable. Bunton's doing an amazing job over there. I do think they might fall off, but while they are winning, at the end of the day, they're going to retain that top spot. But you've got clubs like Old Bridge that have games in hand, and Ridge Hills as well that aren't gonna go away. I think Jason was on it last week or the week before. So yeah, it's a very Yeronga have surprised me. I expected bigger things from them, but at the end of the day, they might just be might try to ease in. Logan Roos are no surprise. They lost 2-0 to Teviot on the weekend, but Football Queensland can learn the hard way there. But yeah, it's Park Ridge are absolutely flying, and I'm happy for them. Obviously, I used to play there as a junior and played a few senior men's years there, but they're absolutely flying this year, and I'm happy to see it.
Great to see Teviot Downs 10th. They're off the bottom.
Yeah, no, good on. Like Gabe's done. He's having to turn around a massive deficit there. Obviously, in their first year, they got done 31-0 to Bayside in an FFA Cup game, or Australia Cup game was the FFA Cup then. He's come in I think this is his 3rd season there, and just the progress. They're being a lot more competitive in their results. They're not getting more than 10 put on them. Like they're lucky to get more than 5 put on them every week. So Gabe's doing a wonderful job out there, and hopefully we'll see them slowly move up the table over the next few years.
Okay, so that's our wrap up of the leagues. There's 2 more topics I'd like to throw open to everyone before we wrap up the show. The first one is we saw that the Socceroos and the Matildas have got games coming up, and they're playing them in Brisbane. Can you believe it?
Yeah, good stuff. Something to go and watch.
It's so rare. I was expecting Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. but we're finally getting games. So it's great to see.
The Socceroos one, like I'll be going to both, absolutely. But the Socceroos one, it's good to see Brisbane. I think it's their farewell game before the World Cup. So I think they play one game here in Brisbane and then they go to New Zealand a few days later and play the second game against New Zealand over there at Eden Park, I'm fairly sure. So it'll be interesting. It'll be it's very interesting to see Brisbane get it, but it's also very exciting to see it. Bunton's jumping on.
Hey, looks like he might. No, he's not there. Okay. All right. So, guys, anything else? Are you all going to go to this game? Tony, will you be going?
Definitely going to those games. Yeah. Need to watch some quality games in Brisbane when we get them. Don't get them too often, like you said. But definitely we'll be going there. So be good for
stuff.
us.
Now, one other thing that I want to bring up today, there was an article in the Brisbane Times about the redevelopment of Perry Park, and that we need to have some sort of legacy as Bunton enters the room. I'll give you one moment, and then we'll come back and talk FQPL sticks. All right. So, Brisbane Times article today about Perry Park being redeveloped. Brisbane needs a rectangular stadium that's football specific, that's not the size of Lang Park, something that's maximum 20,000 capacity. Guys, is this a good spend, or should we be throwing money at Ballymore? What do you think?
This is definitely a good thing, I think. Obviously there is nothing in between, is there? Ballymore is out of the way. It's in the middle of nowhere. You've got Lang Park, Redcliffe's in the middle of nowhere. If there was a football, a home of football in the state, which, Perry Park has been referred to for a long, long time, but, there's been no money spent there or anything like that. And it's probably not up to the standards that's needed. I think probably got to front end that article a little bit. Cameron Atfield has obviously got a personal connection with wanting to have that redeveloped for football. But, if that's to be his legacy to the game as a journo, then we're all for it.
What about Seabus Stadium, though? I thought that's what you were going to say, Nathan. You say we've already got that stadium. It's on the Gold Coast, the Rabina.
Yes, yeah. Problem is nobody went.
I think one stadium that's been overlooked. I mean, when you consider, if we're talking about Brisbane Roar in particular, I think one stadium that's been overlooked for a refurb, and I know Redcliffe's out of the way, but I mean, QE2 Stadium Cusack, sorry. Yeah. Cusack is it's been sitting there. I know it's the Athletics Stadium or whatever it is, but I feel like that it's just off the busway. It's near Mount Gravatt. It's in Brisbane. I feel like that if we're not to develop Perry Park, for me, it's central enough to be, and I know for Northside people, for Redcliffe people, it's probably not, but it's in Brisbane. And I think that's what's most important. I feel like that would be the next best option to upgrade and turn into a more condensed rectangular stadium. And it is, I guess, in a way like a mini Suncorp. So it would be the most ideal next scenario if Perry Park isn't to be the one that gets the investment.
Tony, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's probably spot on. We've got a great venue there, and it's very rarely used, especially for football. So it's in the middle of the city or middle of Brisbane, so it's quite accessible. Perry Park, I think, I don't know what the plans are there, but every time I go to Perry Park, I've got to walk like 3 kilometres to get to the front gate. It's ridiculous for parking, So that's the only problem that I would have with Perry Park. So,
Cory, what did you say then?
Oh no, I was agreeing. It needs parking. Like, I don't know how you can redevelop a stadium where you've got it. You're parking miles away and having a walk and stuff like that. Like that alone doesn't make it a good option, in my opinion.
But that's what makes it a good option, is the fact that you've got access to public transport there. You're not going to put in a stadium in the middle of any city that's going to have decent parking. And I don't know whether that's a Queensland thing. Like Seabus was the same. People would always talk, we can't park there. It's in the middle of the nowhere. We can't get there. And on the Gold Coast, it was harder to get to than, to come from Brisbane to get down to it because of the train line. But, they're not going to build any stadiums with car parks anymore just because of, town planning and that sort of stuff. It's all around getting people there, other ways.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Rick, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, spot on. I think I echo what everyone's just really touched on. I think the need for a boutique stadium is clear. Something as go-between between the giant ones in Brisbane versus the Perry Parks. Where that is, I think that's debatable and who gets what refurbishment or where it goes. But I think the need for it is absolutely clear. We need a boutique, smaller stadium for sure.
And Bunsen, are you there now?
Yeah, finally on.
Welcome.
Mate,
welcome.
I gave you a big rap and everything. I'm not doing it again.
Mate.
Bunsen,
I'll watch it later on YouTube, Spence.
Mate, just screen record and crop that bit and put it on the TV at the club.
Yeah. Apologies, lads. I honestly don't know what happened. I was sitting there like an idiot for like half an hour going, surely these guys aren't this late. So I made it eventually. So yeah.
Good stuff. Great to have you with us. You are,
Thanks,
of course, the senior coach at Park Ridge.
Yep.
Top of the table. I'll get your thoughts on the stadium first, and then we'll talk about your side.
I'll kind of come in halfway. So I probably wouldn't have too much insight into that.
So a 20,000 seat stadium, would you like
Yeah.
to see Perry Park redeveloped, or as Spencer has suggested, the QSAC there at Mount Gravatt?
Yeah, look, I think I remember going to QSAC to watch an Origin game. And I thought that was quite, in terms of location, it was quite good. Transport was always readily available, and there's always different avenues, ways in and out of that stadium. So yeah, that would be an option for me. I've only ever been to Perry Park a couple of times back in my younger days, but yeah, QSAC seems to be, probably sway with Spence on that one.
Okay. If Tony was here, he'd be suggesting that Olympic Goodwin Park should be the one that gets the big development.
Look, I want to segue into FQPL 6 conversation because the way Park Ridge are going, I feel like Park Ridge could be playing the grand final at Perry Park this year. So you'll be able to visit there again some point this season.
Yeah, don't jinx us, mate. Don't jinx us.
mate, like you're absolutely flying. So I want to ask you, because it's always been there's always been quality in the area, and you've got a lot of good young players there, and it's always been a thing. But are you surprised at how well things are going this year?
Yeah, look, I mean, the last time I jumped on the show was obviously a year ago, and I remember speaking to you boys about rebuilding and creating this, this culture at that club. I think we're starting to see that work behind the scenes come into fruition now, and it's and these lads a lot of these boys have played there since they were like 14, 15. So they need a bit of direction, kind of giving them that. And I mean, last year, again, we started quite well, faded away towards the end. I think that was more of a maturity thing, lack of game management as well. I think this season they've probably learnt from that, and are starting to see them go into games, and they already, even though they're quite young, they already have that maturity now to see out games like this season better off than they did, previous seasons. So it is a bit of a surprise, and I try to keep those boys level-headed as much as I can. It's a weekly thing where we just get the job done. whoever's in front of us, we just, we play the best of our abilities, and if we end up on the right end of that result, then but yeah, they're confident young lads, and I think we've got some some really good things happening at Park Ridge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's considering, like, I mean, when you first took over, I remember having conversations with people saying you will instill some sort of structure and stability in the club, and it's good to see it all kind of paying off. Like, obviously, you see things like a lot of the boys are involved with a lot of the juniors at the club, which is good to see. And it's also good to see, like, as you said, 13, 14 players that have been there since they're 13, 14, 15. They understand what the club means, and it's good to see them, I guess, hanging around. Obviously, from what I've heard, Josh Bamford went to Taringa for a year or two. He's come in this year and he's absolutely killing it. So I guess for him to get that experience, come back, and if he watches this, he's going to get the biggest head. But
he will.
but like a lot of the boys, they're under 25. I mean, the two captains, they'd be 22, 23.
Yeah.
Not even that. So
not even that. Ishmael's, I think he's 19 or 20. I think.
Yeah.
So he's quite young. Danny's been there for years. He's only 23. So yeah, there's a lot of potential for those two boys, and I mean, I'll rate these lads. I think if you look in the field, and not saying that clubs should come out and get these boys because they're not going to touch them, but a lot of these lads could really do a job in the 23 setup. Quite high up, I believe. So yeah, lucky enough for me, they're wanting to play at the club, and they want to see the club do well. And with all the hardships that we've been through in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really good just to see that loyalty and that endeavour from a lot of that core group starting to come good now. So
yeah, I think, like I've always said, and I've said whenever Park Ridge is brought up on this particular show, a lot of clubs would be envious of the facilities that Park Ridge has. Like, not in terms of I think there's 1, 2, 3, 5 fields right across. So it's certainly a club that needs to should be getting back to where they were when you were playing at your peak in those higher divisions, when derbying with Regent's Park and whatnot. So it would be good to see the club back to that level.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%, and that's what we're pushing for. And I think we're putting the structures in place this season and last season to make that happen. So fingers crossed. We
doing well, mate. Doing well.
Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Cheers.
Who do you fear in the league finally, Bunthouen?
Definitely Aldbridge, mate. I missed a cup game that we played at the start of the season due to COVID, so I didn't get a chance. I wanted to be there just to have a look at them. We got done in that game, I think 4-1. So we haven't played them yet because obviously with all the rain out fixtures and whatnot. So they're 2 catch-up games, one's with us obviously. So I think them. Rich Hills were quite tough. They did us at home 4-2. I think it'll be a tough game away. Obviously, got to do the job away from home against them. Bethania as well, quite tough. So yeah, there's 3 or 4 teams. I mean, if you look at the ladder, there's only a few points separating first and fifth. So just very fortunate that we've had our fixtures have been quite kind to us, where we've had a stretch of winnable games, and then obviously the back end of it now is we're going to be challenging against some of these bigger teams. So yeah, but definitely Aldbridge, mate. Definitely look out for. I mean, they've got the experience in their squad.
So those fixtures could determine the title.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, well, that's our show, everyone. I spoke to Tony Jorkis just before we went to air tonight, and he says, you'll have nothing to talk about, mate. And we've stretched it out for an hour, so there you go. We showed you, Tony. All right. So this has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you to all my guests. We will see you next week.